Oh man, my friend's running a race, but he didn't bring his phone. I wish there was a way to track him. And then Kevin jumps in.
I was trying to figure out what to say, and then I was like, ah.
Have you heard of Predictive Pace?
So today we're going to talk about RaceJoy's new Predictive Pace feature. So in the first iteration of RaceDay Real-Time, we had it set up so that timers could push real-time chip data from RaceDay scoring into RaceJoy. This allowed spectators to be able to receive notifications anytime a participant that they were tracking crossed those official timing mats. And this would work for people that were carrying their phones and using RaceJoy, and for participants that did not run with their phones. Now, the only difference between those participants, one with their phones and one without their phones, was that spectators who were tracking participants that did not run with their phones would not be able to see them on the map. In RaceJoy, there's a map view that displays the participant's location as like a little bubble. And as the participant's running on the course, that bubble or dot moves along on the course. Now with Predictive Pace, what this does, we can show participants without their phones on the map. And this allows spectators to see where their friends and family are most likely on the course. At the end of the day, it's not specifically live tracking based on GPS data, so it is a bit of a estimation or a guess as to where they are. So the way predictive pacing works is we combine both chip data that is coming in from RaceDay scoring with some user inputted data that we do ask participants, whether it's on the registration side or through the app. Now, essentially what happens is when participants are registering for a race that's been enabled for Predictive Pace, they will be asked a question about what their estimated finish time is on RunSignup. We'll then pull that data into RaceJoy, and we'll use that estimated finish time answer as a source of data for that particular participant. The other option, if a participant does not answer that question or forgets to, is they can come into the RaceJoy app and enter in their specific estimated finish time. So essentially what happens during the race is we'll take the chip data that's coming in from RaceDay scoring, and we'll also take that estimated finish time that the participant tells us, and we'll use that to predict where they are out on the course. Now, as a participant moves through the course and crosses more and more official timing mats, we will start weighting the data coming in from the timing mats more and more. What I mean by that is, let's say we have a marathon and they have official timing mats every 3 miles. Now, let's say we have a participant that in the first 3 miles, they come out running a 6-minute pace. But in their estimated finish time, they say that they think they're going to run this race in about a 9-minute pace. So what happens early on in the race is we will give more weight to the 9-minute pace that they tell us versus the 6-minute pace that they are currently running. This is because as the participant runs through more official timing mats, that data becomes stronger and stronger and becomes more viable as an option to choose. So maybe between mile 3 and mile 6, the participant drops back to about an 8-minute pace, and between 6 and 9, they drop back to 8:10 and sort of hold steady between 6 and mile 20. So as participants cross more split mats, we will give more weight towards the pace that they are actually running. Now, if a participant does not enter in an estimated finish time, whether it's through RunSignup or through the app, we will default to age-graded data. So obviously, age-graded data is a very general pace based off of your age. So there can be some inaccuracies for specific participants who maybe are running faster or running slower than whatever the age grade pace is for them. This is why it's very important, if you do plan on using Predictive Pace, that you want to make sure you get the custom questions set up on RunSignup that's asking your participants at registration what their estimated finish time is going to be. Now, to expand on why we give more weight in the beginning stages of the race to the estimated finish time pace that the participant uses versus the actual chip data time, let's go back to our example of this race that has split points every 3 miles. And we have a participant whose estimated finish time says they're going to run a 9-minute pace. And in the first 3 miles, they crossed the mile 3 split point at a 6-minute pace. Now, if we had given 100% of the weight to this 6-minute pace, that would say between mile 3 and the next split point at mile 6, we think that this participant's going to run a 6-minute pace. But as many of you guys know, and as you know, I did it all the time, I will start a race much faster than what I can actually hold for the entirety of the race. So in our example, let's say this participant ended up running an 8-minute pace between mile 3 and mile 6. If the weight was 100% towards the 6-minute pace based off chip time, we would be moving the participant bubble on the map a lot faster than what they were actually running. So that's why in those beginning stages of the race, we do add more weight to say, let's use this 9-minute pace that they entered as their estimated finish time a little bit more heavily than the 6-minute pace. That way, as the participant continues to run through more timing points and sort of levels out their pace, we can properly move their bubble on the map according to what they're actually running. This is also why, for predictive pace to work properly and to give spectators a really good experience, the more timing mats you have out there, the better. The more real data that we have from these participants' chip, the better we can make our algorithm, the better we can predict where they're going to be running. Now, if this participant happened to continue running around a 6-minute, 6:30 pace for the entirety of the marathon, as the race goes on, we are going to give more weight to the chip data, meaning that if they do show that they can run a 6:30 pace for 26 miles, their bubble will be moving at the pace based off of the chip data. So what we'll talk about now is some of the minimum requirements that we would like to see from races and timers to be able to use this feature. The main requirements that we are looking for is the number of split points out on course. Split points are super important for predictive pace to work properly, but more importantly, to work accurately. So for marathons, we are asking that you put out at least a minimum of 3 intermediate split points, and for half marathons, 2 intermediate split points. Now, obviously, these are minimums, and if you want this to work as best as you can, we would highly encourage more split points if possible. Now, if you're timing a race that has a marathon, half marathon, and a 5K, if you do put out a timing mat for the 5K, we can certainly turn this on for you. But if you don't plan on putting out any split points for the 5K, we won't turn on predictive pace for the 5K. But we can still turn it on for the half marathon and marathon as long as you're sort of meeting the number of intermediate splits out there. So how can you enable predictive pace? Well, there's a few things that we are looking for timers. One, obviously, we want to make sure that you have used RaceDay scoring and RaceJoy before. So if you want to use predictive pace, we definitely recommend making sure that you have a good understanding of RaceJoy and also a good understanding of RaceDay scoring. We're also asking timers to make sure that they've used the initial release of RaceDay real time. This really allows you to understand the importance of quickly pushing data from RaceDay scoring into RaceJoy and sort of the implications of not doing so in a timely manner. We don't want to open up predictive pacing if you've never used RaceDay scoring or you've never used RaceJoy or if you've never used integration altogether. So a good place to start is to just go through and work through RaceDay scoring, work through RaceJoy, and time a couple of races using the real-time integration. Once you feel like you have a good understanding of the software and the integration, feel free to send us an email at RaceJoy@RunSignup.com asking for us to enable predictive pace. And from there, we'll have a conversation with you and kind of get everything enabled for you. Now, if you want to learn more about this feature, we are going to have a webinar on September 9th. James Harris is going to be hosting that, and he's going to be going more in depth into predictive pace and some of the features that are going to be offered. We definitely recommend signing up for that and watching that webinar. And if you can't be there live on September 9th, the webinar will be posted here on our YouTube channel.